Welcome to Pitch It To Me Podcast, a show about the subjective past, present, and potential future of Flesh and Blood design. Today's episode will be about the latest Flesh and Blood expansion. On Red, Yellow, and Blue Pitch, each of our hosts will review their predictions for the Hunted and give their most pressing opinions. You can find us across all socials such as Bluesky and Instagram at Pitch It To Me Podcast.
I'm Arachne.
I'm also Arachne.
Wait. He's Arachne, she's Arachne, they're Arachne, I'm Arachne. Are there any other Arachnes I need to know about?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right, cool.
Dude, Zephyr Needle gone before their glory.
Dude, no, I'm happy. I didn't want to live in a meta.
That was going to be
with
insane.
Retrieve and Zephyr Needle.
I always liked the card for its place in the meta. Like, Zen meta was super hyper aggro, especially when you're playing in the Zen mirror, right? Like, aggro of aggro mirrors. And having a card that's like, look, I just need to swing my weapon one time. If they block with one card, I'm already winning. And that, like, hyper accelerated, like, niche that Zephyr Needle was able to fill, I always found interesting. But I can see why LSS was like, Zephyr Needle is toxic.
With the retrieve mechanic specifically, right? Even more specifically with the ability to pump it, right? Like, I guess Savor Bloodshed was never the issue with Zephyr Needle, but like, just being able to give Zephyr Needle additional power was already an extremely strong ability. And so when they printed a new thing that said, in Ninja, give a dagger +4, you just can't let that exist with Zephyr Needle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Zephyr Needle was so cool when you broke it once, and that was it.
Yeah.
Because daggers that swing for 2 for 1 resource, that's just so overpowered, right?
Yeah, I think that might be the best rate in the game.
We'll see how Fang does.
With natural go again specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can trick people into trying to break them. We want to give a shout out to all of the Discord users that submitted their predictions when we did our Pitch and Predictions episode for The Hunted. So specifically, Darth Prentice, Prime Frog, Ichthia, Mulvane, and Talon. Specifically, Talon had a shout out that was on the money.
Yeah, he was the only prediction to get it correct with assassin-only traps. His doomer about traps not staying a special little thing for Riptide came true, and it served him well.
And you know what I don't think he was expecting? Warrior and Ninja to, on the sidelines, also get a trap.
Yeah, I think that is probably even worse for Talon's mental health than like the fact that there is an assassin only trap.
I think it'll be fine. It's like the best meta that Riptide could ask for.
Also very true. Everyone's doing things at reaction speed, giving things plus power, and go again.
If you can't see, listeners, he's
steepling my fingers.
Yeah.
I'm twiddling them like an evil villain from the 50s.
So thank you to everyone that submitted their predictions. For the rest of the episode, we're going to be talking about our own predictions for the set as we publicly gave at our Pitch and Predictions episode. So you can check the receipts. And we'll also be talking about some of like the things that we're excited to see in the new set, as well as some questions we might have about why LSS chose to go with one design over the other. I feel like that sounds really foreboding when I say it like that. But overall, do you guys think like the set was really hype? Are you really happy to see it now that it hit?
I think it was more hype than people were initially expecting. There was some doomerism going into it, right? More Assassin Ninja when it feels like we've been getting barraged with those two in the same sets over and over again. But I think that what they actually gave us in terms of design is compelling enough and interesting enough. And the Zephyr Needle ban was presented at just the last second to, I think, save the mentality of everyone going into the set.
Yeah, it feels like they added a lot of really interesting stuff to Assassin and Ninja, and not just like the really pushed Majestics that I was expecting. So I'm actually really excited to see like how these ninjas adapt to that like dagger playstyle over like, you know, what we've seen before, like combo draconic stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm enjoying the set too. So let's get into it. For Red Pitch, Clark is going to go first.
Yeah. So we're going to lead off by going over our predictions from the previous episode. So we're going to move through these pretty quick to make sure that we have enough time to hit everything here. So my first prediction, the Assassin Dagger will mark on hit.
Damn.
Full point?
Full point.
Full
Right on the
point.
money.
On both daggers, right? Like the majestic one and the common one.
Not the token one, but it's okay. I'll give it to you.
Yeah. Next, legendary generic leg piece to specifically address Spectra. Now, I did really hammer home that Spectra
Yeah,
point.
you just had to be so specific.
I do think being more specific is better, and it did work out in Fuzzy's favor later.
True.
But half point?
I think you were really trying to go for LSS printing hate tools against Spectra specifically. You were hearkening back to like their announcement about doing such was your whole reason for this one.
I think half of it was also just the fact that a legendary leg piece like just doesn't exist, and like that's a slot that needed to be filled.
I'm leaning towards no points, but I would certainly be willing to concede a half point depending on how Joel feels.
I was also leaning towards no points.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No!
Sorry,
No,
Clark.
this is how I'm going to lose again.
It was just so specific.
Next time I'm going to go for nothing but ground fruit. Okay, third prediction. Chaos will only appear on assassin cards. So I was expecting a lot of Chaos Assassin melded, but not with a blank Chaos talent like we were getting blank Draconic. And sure enough, that wasn't the case. We did not get any blank generically Chaos cards, except for the gem.
Which is chaos only.
It is Chaos only. It's a Chaos gem.
100% of the chaos cards that we saw.
Are only chaos.
Yeah.
There are only 2 of them. So, like, spirit or letter. The fact that you guys didn't give me a half point for the leg piece makes me think.
Why would you get any points here? You said chaos will only appear on assassin cards, and it didn't at all. You said no Talon
Yeah.
only cards.
Well, we did already see Spurlocked by the time I
Yeah.
made that prediction, so
Yeah.
I meant we probably won't see any more. It's fine. It's whatever. I'm moving on. Fuck Clark.
And I don't want to hog your spotlight, Clark, but the way I remember it is here, I did do like a little side prediction where I said that there's going to be like a card that spotlights each of the 6 Chaos Assassin demi-heroes, because we saw Tarantula Toxin, and we were talking about like space in the set codes, because I didn't write it down anywhere else, so I think this is my only point where I can bring it up.
You also definitely, I think in that prediction, it was like each of the Majestics will be one. Like there would
Yeah.
be one Majestic for each one, which is not how it ended
That's
out.
totally true.
Trying to get extra fucking points.
No, I wouldn't get points for
Clark's
that.
section?
I wasn't going to get
crazy.
points in Clark's section. That would be so out of bounds. You
But
know?
Clark's the one who tries to gamify the predictions the most. All right, prediction number 4. Rupture is out of here. And then I gave a prediction for a new Draconic keyword. They did not return to Rupture at all, which was definitely the spirit of my thing. But I thought they were going to replace it with a new mechanic. And they kind of didn't. They kind of kept it to counting chain links. Only now you're counting Draconic chain links, and they really only care up through 2.
I would give you half a point. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, very much so. Like,
They're choosing not to design around having a really wide combat chain. Fang is Draconic, but he really only wants 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Except for like on power turns where you're doing like 8 chain links.
yeah, but even then, not every single one of those needs to be Draconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 5th, there will be a CNC reprint.
In gem packs.
God damn it.
I was like waiting for it.
I was right, and we don't technically know the full gem pack list at current time of recording. It's possible that the CNC ends up in there, but it's highly unlikely. It looks like only commons and rares are going to be in the 22. The 23rd appears to be a hero. We have the 8 cold foils being the weapons, left-handed and right-handed, and then the Marvel we now know is an Uzuri, pulled for the very first time live by Josh Lau on the Card Guys
The
stream.
GOAT.
Yeah.
Half point?
Because there's a CNC reprint?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think that was a fairly decent swing.
You get a half point, Clark.
And then Ninja will get a legendary leg piece. I really kept fucking hammering the fucking leg pieces.
He's like, we're getting legs.
And I think I made even a side prediction at the end of everything of like, I can see Draconic getting a leg piece. Like, I think
Yeah.
Fuzzy, you were saying there might have been like an arms piece. And I was saying, well, actually, like the leg piece might be more interesting. But that wasn't one of my official predictions. So, no.
you get a ghost point for that.
I mean, Syndra got a Draconic leg piece, got a leg piece.
Does that
One
make-
Ninja got a leg piece.
Is that 2 half points? No, 2 points because you said the Assassin Dagger will mark CNC reprint and rupture.
Yeah, so I think I am currently sitting at 2 full points.
Okay, I'm willing to give him the half point for leg piece.
We're keeping it competitive.
Convince me. Your groveling paid off.
Yes. Remember, kids, grovel.
So, Clark, now that we've reviewed your predictions, what are some things about the new set that you really want to discuss?
So the first thing I really wanted to talk about is that this is our first big reaction set since like Welcome to Wraith, where it feels like so much of the set and the damage and even the equipment is centered around reactions.
Yeah, people in draft are like, do I run 5 D-reacts? And it's like, yeah.
I've seen people say that Arachne just needs to run like 4 plus D reacts in limited.
And Fang is like, do I run only attack reactions? And it's like, yeah.
Like, there's definitely a list out there that does that, 100%. And I think that's so interesting. I love how they've designed the equipment to be one block, but if you block intelligently, you can get conditional 2 block. But then all of those designs also allow the opponent to play around them really interestingly. The Red Alert, the Leapfrog, like I think these are great designs for a reaction set and giving anti-reaction common and rare equipment. It is masterfully designed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love the new equipment designs for sure.
I want to ask, do you guys think that this limited set needed a 0 for 4 D-react? Because right now, all the traps in the set currently only block for 3.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in my opinions about the set, but it seems like specifically for Assassin, the ceiling is like 3 per reaction, like 3 points, versus like Warrior where the dagger plus the reaction, you can push up to 4 or 5.
Yeah, depending on the reaction.
Yeah. So
Even throw 2 reactions on it.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes it feels like the format is like really fast and it could have used more D-reacts, but I don't know. I also think like D-reacts are just extremely powerful, and a 0 for 4 unconditional in limited could make it, a bit more of that fatigue style that I do not like in limited.
We even have Laylo, which is 4 points of value defensively if the opponent is marked. It's a conditional 0 for 4, quote unquote, D-react. And it's heavily conditional because if you're marked, you're not even able to play it.
Yeah.
I think my 2 main responses to that question are, first of all, with equipment, we can pretend we have 0 for 4 D-reacts.
Yeah.
With the Leapfrog line, we're able to
the additional value that we can get off of these.
Yeah,
things.
like the equipment are able to cover your breakpoints so well and dynamically, especially considering how many of them are in the set, that I don't think it's a big deal that you're not able to block for 4,
Yeah.
And I also think that like it's okay for offensive options to be stronger than defensive options,
I definitely agree, but I've noticed that lethal range can sometimes start showing up at 10 life.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I'm super happy with that specifically. Just a little thing that I've noticed about the set, and something that I'll probably expand more on and hopefully maybe even do a full pitch on come our limited opinions episode. Let me know if you guys are going to be interested in hearing that. Moving on, I also want to ask, do dagger support cards deserve to be overrated? Because what we've seen with Warriors is that for basic weapon pumps, it's 0 cost for +3. Your next weapon gains +3, it's sharpened steel. Then with daggers, they're saying, well, now it's 0 for +4, but only onto a dagger. That seems to be the big dagger theme going on, is that everything gets to be 1 above rate. 0 for 3 attack reactions and all this. And it should be generally okay because daggers attack for 1 less while still requiring the same resource input that it took for warriors to swing with their weapons. But I'm noticing that it's a little awkward because it works on the first card you play. The first 0 for 4 you play is completely fine. The second one you play is now overrated in a way that warriors weren't getting. Is this a good thing?
I think the siloing of dagger support was really well done in the sense that the 0 for 4s don't really strike me as problematic. Specifically because you already mentioned it, Clark, that they have 1 less base power. So each of the reactions on the first chain link is still going to be, especially with Fang, is going to be like up to 4 or 5. Because of that point deficit, if you don't have the right reactions at the right time, it could still be under rate and be stuffed by D-React, especially if they're trying to land a hit while you're marked or something like that. So to me, it seems like a good enough value proposition, like especially because all the reactions, it seems like block for 2. So they're also weaker defensively.
All the Draconic Warrior ones do, and some of the hybrid ones, but I think not all of them do.
Yeah, there are definitely some 0 for 4 pumps, which is not something we're used to seeing, you know?
Yeah, those are all non-attack action cards, though. All the reactions, you are right, Joel, I think are 2 blocks.
I think it's a little bit fair in that it's very incentivizing for a player with those daggers to run larger hands, you know? If I only have a 1-card hand, my dagger is not going to do very much at all. If I have a 2-card hand, I might be able to play a 0 for 4 pump, but then I'm only attacking for what, 5? Or something, you know? Because these daggers are all based around 1 power.
Yeah, 2-card 5 does not sound super powerful.
But then when you get to 3 and 4-card hands, it starts to get strong, and I think that's okay to have a play pattern for, you know? Because then somebody throws a CNC at you, and you're like, well, if I block it, I'm not going to be able to do really, really cool dagger things, you know?
Yeah.
I also think dagger heroes are incentivized to end the game early and steal tempo early to end the game quicker, because in a fatigue scenario, like if you're playing blue hit and run and then pitching for 2 swings, that's 2 damage unless you have extra reactions. So the fatigability of a dagger warrior seems a lot greater than if you're running Centauri Saber and Hot Streak, because Hot Streak is like conditional go again if you block at low life totals with an attack action, and every hit and run, every blade run equals 4 value, or 1 for or two for each swing. So for that reason, I think having them lean so hard into the aggressive option as a dagger hero makes more sense to me than like holding back, so to speak.
Yeah. All right, and the very last thing that I want to talk about is Hunter's Clave. I think this is a really, really weird card because, one, they wanted a majestic weapon, but they didn't want it to be draftable, so they put it in the expansion slot. It's in the back 2 cards, so it's not playable in limited.
Really?
Yes.
I thought that was only for the cold foils.
Nope. The Hunter's Clave shows up in the back 2 cards of a pack and is not limited playable.
Weird.
Super weird, because it isn't in the expansion slot. It has a normal hunted set code, but it is not intended for limited play. And at the exact same time, as a CC tool, it just kind of makes all of the marked cards open and available to any and all assassins now. I really wonder why they didn't make this a Chaos Assassin dagger so that, one, Arachne Marionette could play it, and Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. I think both of those heroes should use marking, and I think are interesting to see marking in, but did New really need access to the marked card pool?
Yeah, I know.
Did Azuri? Like, I'm just very, very confused by that intention from LSS. And it makes me think that LSS printed so many Assassin sets recently purely because they feel like Assassin needs an equivalent sized card pool. And that's why we've been getting so many of them.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I remember during previous season, a lot of people were really worried that before Hunter's Clave was revealed, that New, Azuri, like all these objectively stronger assassins were going to outclass like Marionette and Slippy because they have access to the same marking support that they do. And it was fine because there wasn't really a consistent way of marking outside of flinging the Mark of the Huntsman and or using like a marked card like, the Reaper's Call or whatever.
Yeah, Reaper's Call, Public Bounty, all of which I think would have been acceptable to say, okay, you need to run these like very side, like you need to take cards out of your deck to put in cards that mark. And that would have just helped silo it. Like we would have seen a New that was oriented around marking.
Right.
But it wouldn't have been essentially the same deck with like 3 to 4 cards that care about marking.
Yeah, and now without that deck building constriction, I think they kind of like work against, like LSS is working against themselves now because New just has like no reason not to run this, plus the other like good Majestics that marking support has. So it is a little bit perplexing. But I think also just keeping in mind what you said about wanting to expand the card pool, I think having Stealth, Contract, and Marking as 3 separate archetypes in Assassin would be against what they want to be doing with like releasing so many Assassin stuff.
Certainly.
So having a mixture of Stealth and Mark or Contract and Mark seems better to me in the long run.
The last thing that I'll probably mention about this is that expect me to talk about this moving forward in future episodes and like bring it in the little asides and side things because I'm really thinking about whether or not card pool size is the most important thing, or if card pool quality is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like I've been thinking about Brute. Brute actually has a pretty sizable card pool, but I think that the quality of a lot of those cards is really low.
Yeah.
So you don't see Brute doing a lot. So I really wonder if this was the right approach by LSS when they introduced a new class of like, well, we needed to catch up. Because instead what we've really just gotten is that Assassin has had the best LSS designs.
Yeah.
Because they have been getting all of their cards designed during the best era of LSS dev work.
True.
And other classes that haven't gotten as much support simply just don't feel up to snuff.
Yeah.
Arachne Huntsman certainly feels like the old design.
Yes.
And so, like, there is a section of their card pool that feels outdated, that has not gotten the support. And the fact that through 3 draftable sets, they have not returned to that design is definitely telling me that, like, that part of their card pool is just kind of tossed by the wayside.
Yeah.
So, once again, I am sitting here wondering, why then?
Yeah, I have heard complaints from many of my friends who are like, so what do we do with Huntsman now? Because people like, with every hero that gets released, someone's going to fall in love with that design. Same thing happened with Riptide, but Riptide's getting like really good support over the last few years, whereas Huntsman got maybe coercive tendencies, and that's it. And so now, yeah, I don't really know what else is in store for that hero, but it seems like, I don't know, do you just like LL them? Like, take them out of the game and then absorb the rest of the card pool or rattle some stuff? I don't know.
Yeah. It's tough.
I mean, it definitely seems like they don't want to return to contract. They've been building everything around stealth. That is the modern design for Assassin. And it just definitely leaves this hero out behind the shed.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we will see some new Assassin design space in the future, maybe returning back to contract. I kind of hope it'll be a while.
I'd like to see a 2-set break. I'd like to not see Assassin for the rest of 2025.
2 sets.
Maybe an Armory deck. A Huntsman Armory deck.
Okay.
Print some good Majestics, some new buyback equipment in there.
Yeah.
Sure.
That would be fun.
That'd be fun. It'd be interesting.
I would buy that Armory deck.
Sure.
I get to play Arachne Huntsman.
Nothing else. No more draftable Assassins. I'm full up.
Well, thank you, Clark. Is it okay if I go next?
No, Joel.
So for my... No, just kidding.
Yeah. Fuzzy, here, I am taking and I am handing to you.
Oh, thank you. So for Yellow Pitch, I'm going to go next. I'm going to start off with the predictions I made. So first, I predicted that Warrior Daggers are going to be very vanilla with basically no effects, probably just a Draconic keyword. I was imagining a nice weapon, maybe well statted, that is like a blank canvas for us to paint effects onto with your various attack reactions, etc. And I was wrong. They have this cool, like, when you play a Draconic card, they get go again and +1. That's definitely an effect.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Fuzzy.
Next, I thought there might be a legendary Draconic Arms that gives power based on the number of Draconic cards that you played.
Whew. That would have been gas.
Again, balancing is aside, like, they can tune the numbers to be whatever they want.
Yeah, it could be like at start a game when you equip this lose 4 life, you know?
Or like the 5th Draconic card you play each turn gets +1 power or something like that, you know? So it's that would have been kind of balanced, right?
Like Ruptured Arms of like whenever like you get to the 4th chain link, that one gets the +1. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
The Lose Life and the Ruptured Arms, those are actually really cool flavor. I might have to hop in the custom card design channel after this episode.
I also said, wait, do I get that point?
No.
I think those are both goose eggs.
Yeah.
Those are stinkers. Okay. Next, I said that other than Spurlocked, which was already revealed at the time, and the Chaos Hero that we knew of, and a Chaos Dagger, that the only other Chaos card would be a Chaos Fabled.
Wow. Prophetic.
Wow. I mean, the Chaos Fabled was a great prediction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take more big swings, Fuzzy.
I know. That was a really good one.
They definitely never backfire against you.
Yeah, because I just had this feeling like they didn't have to print any Chaos cards.
Yeah.
And I'm still mad they didn't. I wish we could have seen
Yeah.
like some more chaos design space.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but like, come on, like, what is chaos mean? Barely anything. It's a fabled and a spur locked.
Yeah, it's really, really small. So you do mention a Chaos Dagger here, which I do not believe they printed. Is the headpiece Chaos?
No. It's just Assassin. Arachne Huntsman can run it.
Arachne Huntsman can
yeah,
run
just
that?
Assassin.
Okay. Because I think I would give it to you definitely if there was like like a Chaos equipment. Because that was the spirit that I got from the dagger, right? Like there's
I
gonna be
was
a
trying to
sacrifice
carve
thing.
space to be like, there's not going to be any more chaos cards than this. I wasn't trying to say like, there will be a chaos dagger, there will be a chaos fabled.
Yeah. What do you think?
You made me be so specific to predict a chaos fabled gem, and then you're not going to give me the point.
Is the graphene sheller it's not chaos?
No, there's no chaos daggers.
The gem's great.
I was going to give a point, but I didn't realize how specific you were being about the daggers, and I want to do half a point.
Hey, you guys so much.
I pushed for the gem and you got that.
Because originally I said there's going to be at most one other chaos card, and you wanted me to get more specific.
I do remember that.
And I did. And that's why I put it. I was right. And I don't give a fuck about the dagger. Like, it's not like I was like really
Sure. I mean, point.
Yeah, I'll give a point.
Sure, point.
Oh, I can't believe I had to beg for that.
Grovel
Probably
kids.
works.
Get on my hands and knees for the points they deserve. Okay. So next I said, we will see generic cards that give you a benefit if you are royal, such as Imperial Edict, Imperial Decree from Dynasty. And we saw one. We saw
see one.
Imperial Seal of Dragon Flame, whatever the fuck.
Imperial Seal of Command, I believe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Because it harkens to the text on Command and Conquer.
Yeah, gas
So
card.
now we know that the command is that you can't play D-Reacts, and the Conquer is fuck your arsenal.
But it does both though.
Command and Conquer does both.
Imperial Seal of Command does both.
Only if you're royal. Because if you're royal and you have the command, then you conquer.
True. If you just command as a peasant, no one's gonna conquer for
and they
you.
can't play D-Reacts?
Yeah.
Yeah. They just can't play D-Reacts. Which is a cool effect. I love this card.
So I am a bit surprised that there's only one. I was kind of hoping to see like a plurality of these, you know?
Yeah.
But they did print an effect like that, harkening back to the Imperial set before.
They definitely did. When you put this prediction down, I was like, whoa, that's such a good prediction, Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid.
Do you guys feel like I get a full point for it?
Yeah, I'll give you a point.
Yeah, I'll give you a point. Your growling's really going to win you this, Fuzzy.
I wasn't groveling there. I was just asking.
At the previous one.
Next, I said that there's going to be a Razor Reflex There would be a Razor Reflex reprint.
Yeah, we're leaving that in.
Full point. There is.
Yep. There was one.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, they only printed it at red. There's no yellow or blue Razor Reflex in this set.
Well, they did that for a lot of cards, which I like. I think it makes limited a lot more fun to play. I don't like yellows.
Yeah, and it's kind of when they like reprint only the good ones, you know?
Yeah, they're doing that a lot more with rares, like printing them specifically at red. And I like that because if the effect isn't really strong enough, I don't want to see the yellow or the blue version of that rare in my pool.
Yeah.
Leaving them at red, I think, is actually really, really strong.
And they already exist in the game for those that like want it for their collection or their cube or their really fringe deck, you know?
Yeah, like their yellow Razor Reflex Prism build.
Please. Please.
You can put it on the 1+ Herald!
That's amazing.
Yo, next garbage or dumpster dive? Next dumpster dive deck idea?
Oh my god, yes.
Razor Reflex.
Then I said Ninja will get a combo card that combos off of a dagger attack. Like maybe a combo effect that throws the dagger. Yeah, there were no combo cards in this set.
Yeah, nothing that said combo on it, so definitely no there. But Blade, Whirling Blade Dance?
There's like 3 cards that when they attack or they
can throw a dagger, yeah. If it's Draconic, if it's the second or higher Draconic Chain Link, and then there is the Blood Runs Deep, which we did already know about.
Yeah, it's kind of implied that they follow a dagger attack, but I would not accept any points for this prediction.
Yeah, I'm thinking no points for this one. But you still got 3, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
He did.
Yeah, great job.
I'm right half the time.
Now, what do you think about the whole set now that you've seen it?
I think this set seems to have hit the sweet spot for power level when it comes to the CC format. I think maybe Assassin might be stronger than I'm imagining right now. But like at this point in time, like didn't we already know that Zen was like already running away with the meta? I think like these heroes all seem like they could be played, but I haven't seen any of them like arise to the top. Not that I'm necessarily the most like right person to talk to when it comes to like the CC meta, but
we might still be in more points for Mistveil. Like Mistveil might still just be the peak of CC right now, even with these heroes and these cards. I don't really know if anyone's going to get a big enough bump to really unseat what Xin, Enigma, and Nu were doing.
I am really excited to play Syndra though. And Fang seems like he has some game as well.
The fact that Fang seems to have as much game as he does is so cool to see. Like, I am surrounded by a lot of people who play Warrior and Doom about Warrior. Like, not even just Joel, right? Like,
Thanks.
Like, I'm saying quite a few other people, and I have not heard a single person say a real negative thing about Fang and Fang's design, which is exciting to me. I'm sure Joel will talk more about that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I got plenty to say. No, but he seems like a lot of fun. Like playing with the daggers, pumping them up, and being really tricky in the combat chain. That's like what I really enjoy about Warrior the most. And it's like only a sprinkle of what you get with like, double sword. So this double dagger is like really, it's a breath of fresh air for sure.
And if I can shout out Marionette, like Marionette's a fantastic design.
Very cool.
I think they really hit it out of the park with these hero designs, and I think they're relatively well balanced. That's at least my early impressions. Coming to Limited, I know you guys didn't think we could get to a fuzzy pitch without talking about Limited. And so far, like I've been playing a lot online, and I've had the pleasure of doing like 3 drafts in person with the set so far. And it seems like this set is challenging me because I can never get like that nice, like I haven't had any like 3-0s yet, Like I'm losing at least 1 or 2 games per draft, and my 2 wins have been like one of those wins was a bye. So I'm finding it really difficult to get a good deck together. A big part of it, I think, is like the combination of all the things that you have to juggle in Limited for this set. You have to decide if marking is important to you. You have to make sure you get your Draconic cards in order to turn on all of your other cards. You have to make sure that you're juggling these complicated effects. Like Arachne Web of Deceit is like a really weird hero to get around, Like, I know that some people have been having some success with it, and maybe I'm just so ninja pilled that I wasn't able to, like, process assassin cards right off the bat. But it took me a little bit to, like, get it going and see how it works, And I've kind of heard the same thing from some of the other people I've been talking to, that this set is, like, particularly challenging for a limited environment.
No, it really, really is. I've been struggling a lot with it as well, though I haven't drafted as much as you, Fuzzy. Really, 3 times in person?
I got to do 2 at the end of a pre-release, and I did 1 at Collector Legion.
You did 2 at the light?
Yeah. Both times, I drafted Syndra, and it got cut from me because I was forcing it, and the other players in the pod like weren't able to recognize that they should pivot off of my hero.
The issue of too many people forcing.
Bro, there's 4 Syndras at our draft.
Yeah.
I drafted our Dragon Blood. I'm like, I'm going Syndra, and everyone else was like, oh, I guess I'll go Syndra too. Fuck you!
Yeah.
I'm the Syndra.
But even like when I try to stay open at the Collector Legion draft, first 3 picks were like generics and stuff. And then I think I decided to draft Syndra at the exact same time Bill, who was to my right, decided to draft Syndra. So I was getting cut off anyway, even though I was trying to stay open. And part of it's like once you have those generics that like are really solid blue block 3s or like are just solid on rate attacks, like they don't fit with your game plan, so you can have a do-nothing deck. Like, I ended up with, like, 5-6 Draconic attacks in my deck, and I had cards that were like, all your Draconic attacks get +1, which is, like, just so bad in Syndra. Like, I was looking at my deck, I'm like, how did I get 2 wins with this thing? The answer is that one of them was a bye, So, my struggle overall with the set is where I am trying to stay open because I think it's really tough to be on the, like, 3 of or 4 of heroes in this set in particular. And there's so many hybrid cards that the openness can really bleed into each other. It can be hard to tell when you're getting cut really quickly. But then also, like, again, it's really easy to get punished for forcing a hero because you really want to be on the open hero.
Yeah. The both times that I've drafted, I stayed open and then found the exact right pick to pivot into Assassin. My first draft, I went 3-0, and in my other draft, I went 2-1. But that draft, one of the wins was a bye, so it was a little bit awkward. This is definitely a weird set. I've stayed open in both of my drafts, and I think I found the right moment to go into it, but that still doesn't guarantee that you're going to have, like, this crack deck that's going to, like, shit on everyone. Like, there were people with restricted, very contested builds and heroes who were still able to put together a very strong deck that completely ran over me.
Wow.
So it's definitely doable.
I've definitely been like trying to shift my paradigm and tackle the set from a bunch of different angles and perspectives. And right now I'm looking at like try to stay open as much as you can until you get into that really open hero. And that's coming from me, Fuzzy, Mr. Force KO and Force Zen to success, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm staying open in this set and I don't like it, but I'm going to try to find whatever works, you know?
I honestly think it's a little bit like the generics just don't feel as strong. Like we have a lot of like blue 3-block generics. And that's just kind of a lot of the generic pool.
Yeah, there's not like a backbone that you can rely on. You know?
There's no 3 for 7. You know?
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, here's my 3 for 7 deck.
Like blue block fees are good and they're helpful, but you have to find power cards in your class.
You got to be able to deal damage.
I haven't thought of it that way yet, Clark. Thank you for that little tidbit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be thinking about that one.
Yeah, go ahead and ponder that. Why don't you? Why don't you draw one at the end of your turn?
Oh my.
Okay, the last thing I want to talk about with my pitch is I'm a little bit disappointed, with Chaos. There's not a lot going on in the Chaos talent. And
Sorry.
there's not a lot going on in the Chaos talent, and what were they hoping to accomplish with this? I kind of got a similar vibe with Royal, except Royal was kind of cool as something that like you could tack onto any hero and get really minute benefits with, you know? Like I love this idea of these Imperial line packages that you could fit in and like you could run them and maybe you would want to run them without. Like Imperial Warhorn wasn't even run in Royal decks, but you could make it Royal and it would get even better, you know? But we don't even have that option with Chaos. Yeah, there's only one hero that has a Chaos talent, and it doesn't add anything to their card pool. The only thing is they can run this gem. Like, why not just make it an Arachne specialization, right?
Mm-hmm. Shard of the Arknight is a Visceray specialization. There's no reason why they couldn't have done that here.
I think I share your sentiments, Fuzzy. Like it seemed like they wanted Arachne to be Chaos from the get-go, and that's why they like only made it for Arachne. Like they didn't, if they added a crown like they should have, like I predicted they should, I think it would have been a lot more flavorful, because then if you want people to be part of your brood, wouldn't you want people to like join the brood, or is it just those six people in the brood? I don't know. I think thematically it doesn't work for me, and I think mechanically it could have been expanded a lot more in the same way that Royal is. But Royal also has a lot more lore behind it, like with the Emperor. That was the first Royal hero, and then I think along in that same set you have like the Royal items and stuff like that. So there's a lot going for Royal that Chaos doesn't have just yet. I don't know if they'll ever iterate on it, but yeah, I don't know. It just seems boring.
And while you're talking about Royal, they printed 2 Royal heroes, and they didn't do anything with that either, other than an Imperial Seal thing. And I guess you can run Imperial Edict if you want. I'm actually really tempted to shove that into some Syndra lists. Look at their hand, and they can't do anything with those cards. It's kind of tempting.
It's already in all my Fang lists.
Yeah. I definitely think this is maybe one of those instances where we see the big gaps in LSS's ability to marry lore and story. Lore and mechanics. Because I think very clearly Chaos is intended to be this... La Apocalyptica, thank you. I'm pretty sure it's meant to be that cult. And like what they're trying to do. That is supposed to be Chaos. And if you look at the art for Spurlock, like it even though it's like definitely meant to be more of like a nod to a certain player.
Brody Spurlock.
Yes.
Oh, no way.
There's no reason I was not trying to say his name, but you're right. It sounds awkward to just not use the name. It's supposed to be a nod to Brody Spurlock, but like the art is very much like this weird cult, this backroom dealing, these like twisted figures and abominations. It just feels weird that like we're kind of getting that now in like 3 places. We're getting it from Runeblades with a lot of the Viscerai art. We're getting it from the Shadow Talent. And now we're also getting it from Chaos. And this cult seems separate from Irathriel. And I just don't know what they're doing with it. And you're right, it's because we didn't get enough with Chaos. Like, if they were going to introduce Chaos to us, I would have much preferred a more Chaos-oriented set. And instead, we didn't get that. Maybe there was supposed to be a 4th hero creating a square sort of shape. And there was supposed to be another Chaos. And then we would have had Chaos as a shared thing, sort of like how Draconic is shared.
And then they just scrapped everything and just kept the Fable.
Well, maybe they just cut that hero, and the moment that they cut that hero, yeah, they need to cut everything else. And I think it's important to remember Flesh and Blood is still a fairly new game. You know, Magic the Gathering didn't start doing properly good marrying of storytelling and set design until 20 years into their game's history.
They have time. I think where Flesh and Blood succeeds is the mechanics and like the gameplay, the Pro Tour circuit. I think there's plenty of time to build up that lore. So for right now, these like one-off talents just seem really fucking weird.
Yeah, they're weird, they're awkward, but I think they are continually building, and I think they're putting the right thing forward, right? If it was, hey, we need to try to figure out what to prioritize here, trying to make this like hero design work and force it into the set so that we can get our nice Chaos introduction as it works in the story, or do we take the time and build a really good set and kind of leave Chaos on the back burner?
Yeah.
You take the second option every single time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're kind of giving LSS a lot of the benefit of the doubt here, you know? And that's okay. I like LSS. I like the set they produced.
Don't let nobody say I'm not a positive force.
We also kind of need a word now for these half talents. I guess like half talents.
Talents?
Yeah, because we have Royal, and Royal was like unique. And Royal's no longer unique in how underwhelming the design it is, you know?
Ooh, yeah, good point.
It's now like there's 2 talents that are both pretty underwhelming as talents.
You know, Royal is interesting because it is in the talent space, but it isn't specifically like what talents are kind of intended to be. Like, talents very much in the lore are like sources of magical energy. We had a really big conversation about this in the Discord with Equinox. But like I very much agree with what she was saying in there, which is like talents are sources of magical energy and power. That's typically what they are. That's typically what they represent. And so like Royal isn't that. You don't get powers just because you have the divine right of kings. I guess maybe they could make that a thing in this world, but then that's...
I thought they kind of did with Emperor, because there was a giant monster spirit god thing that was in the volcano at Volcor, and the Emperor would commune with it. I remember reading that in the story.
Freak.
Weird.
All right, I think I've said my piece about Chaos and Royal. The guys to put a positive spin on it, I'm really excited to see if they expand those any way in the future. And I think the world is their oyster for how they could possibly do that. They have a lot of different ways to go, considering the small launching pad that they have. Joel, do you want to take it away for Blue Pitch?
Okay, my turn. So I just want to, remind everyone, I've won last set.
Yeah.
If you say so.
So my first one was that all daggers will cost 2 resources to activate.
Literally only one dagger did.
Stop!
Sorry, Joel.
Next, I predicted that there would be a Crown of Dominion Part 2, specifically for Chaos.
Great idea. Honestly, I think there should have been way more cards that were generic, but they were like flavored differently. If you were Chaos or Draconic, would have been super
Oh my god,
cool.
that would have been so cool.
So much fun in draft.
Yeah.
So much fun in draft.
If you're Chaos, discard randomly, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, like, neat stuff, but no.
Next, I predicted that Chaos will be like the meme talent with lots of highly variant, powerful effects like Spurlocked and Marionette's hero power. But there was only like one other. Well, actually, the Fable seems pretty memey, but I'll leave it to the judges.
I don't think it's actually that memey. I mean, like, I think the gym is actually pretty damn playable. it doesn't seem like a meme to me. You can like ruin the opponent's pitch stack for like late game fatigue battles that Assassin typically does, and the ability to like cheat yourself an extra arsenal, or even like give your opponent an arsenal when you want to like throw the CNC. Like pitching this to throw CNC seems actually pretty damn good.
I didn't even think about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't need to hear Fuzzy. I know I got 0.
I was just gonna say that, like, I think this card, Schism of Chaos, does seem like if Chaos was going to be the weird random effects, like fun party games talent, this is kind of right in line with that. It can be like a solid playable effect that you play in CC, but like this is a party game card. Everyone shuffles and then puts the top card of their deck into their arsenal. Like,
oh yeah, the moment I thought about it in UPF, this is a meme card.
That's funny.
But I wish that they had printed more than one single Chaos card, so that way you could say, because this sounds like Chaos has an identity, and it's hard for me to say that it does, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think I was also hoping that there'd be a lot more Chaos cards, and that's why this was going to be, alongside just rolling scabs every turn, throwing big attacks, but it just wasn't that.
So I'm on 0, leaning towards a half. But if Clark says no, then
I think half.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, we're back?
Fuzzy totally convinced me. Like, the moment I thought about it in UPF, I'm like, yeah, no, meme. Super meme.
Let's go!
It's the best kind of meme. The playable kind of meme.
Again, like, I'm hoping that maybe we see more Chaos, and that's what it leans to. You're right? But,
So we'll come back to this episode in, 4 sets, and we'll retally it up.
Yeah.
I predicted that the majority of Warrior cards, around 70%, will be non-talented, specifically because I wasn't really sure how they were going to incorporate both Draconic and Dagger support for Warriors, because they've never had really huge dedicated Dagger support for Warrior and no Draconic Warrior before now. So,
okay, Joel, you did a math prediction. Do the math. What'd you come up to?
So I counted all the Warrior cards and all the Draconic Warrior cards, and about 44 of them were generic Warrior. The rest were Draconic.
How did you count up cards with different pitch colors?
I did each color strip as a unique card, because there were some cards that were uniquely red. So I thought it was fair. Otherwise, it would just be slanted towards the Draconic cards. But if you feel like I gamed the game, then
no, I feel like that's fair.
I think it's completely fair methodology, because a card coming in red and blue does matter.
Yeah, I agree. That's sort of where I was coming from.
And what was the ratio?
76%.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, that sounds like a ding.
Yep.
Let's go. I heard it too. All right. Next, I predicted that Flamescale Furnace would get a reprint. RIP.
They should have.
They really should have.
Honestly, they really should have, because that card jumped in price. And
although, I was thinking they should because it's Draconic, but they also added a really sweet chess piece for Cinder to use.
Yeah.
And I think Fang already has access to grains that I think he'll be using more than Furnace, so whatever.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I predicted that Assassin will get some new Majestic contracts that will irreparably break the game again.
Yeah, this was definitely back when we thought there would be more of a blend between contract and stealth in the Assassin card pool.
Yeah, they literally printed 2 contract cards in the set, and no more of them. I kind of was expecting more.
Yeah.
I guess technically 3, if you think about Hand Behind the Pen.
Hand Behind the Pen.
That's the Mentor.
Oh.
Not technically in the set, but it's in the Blitz collection.
Yeah, I think that's decidedly outside of the set.
The hand that pulls the strings.
Hand that pulls the strings.
I'm like, Hand Behind the Pen isn't in this set. That's a Rosetta card.
That's the 2 for 6. If it's an on-tech action, destroy it.
Yeah.
Now, while I do think the Majestics that came out of Assassin are very strong, I don't think they're game-breaking, which is a nice change of pace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Take Up the Mantle is pretty fucking nutty.
Pretty gas,
The fact that you can put reactions on either side of that card resolving is frustrating, to say the least. But it's definitely really, really cool.
Yeah, so I think in total I got
1.5.
1.5. R.I.P. to the GOAT.
Damn.
Damn.
You seem to not do great when your classes are getting printed.
I was just thinking that too. I'm like, this is not my
Well,
set.
you were saying your called shot was Warrior's going to suck just like it always does, and I don't think that's quite what happened. So
No.
I like to think you're pleasantly surprised, right, Joel?
I genuinely am, sure. I don't think Fang is going to be like competitively like warping by any means, but if I take him to an armory, I'll probably take a couple games, but have fun throughout the night.
I think he's very much at the level of where like Kasai was at. Maybe not in terms of like where the competition was or the meta being as open as it is, but in terms of power level, I think he's being released at a very similar, if not slightly above, where Kasai was. Kasai got 200 points.
Yeah.
So like I think Fang can definitely win a PQ, can definitely win an RTN, can definitely win armories. Joel, is Warrior as bad as we all thought it was? How's this set, buddy? How are you doing?
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun brewing with Fang. I think because there's just like lack of large events happening, that a lot of the deck construction, the early additions are mostly from myself and a few other friends that I've been playing with, and less of like net decking from like the top pro players, which has been really nice. I'm not going to lie, which will I'm sure change once he gets more solved. People figure out where he is in the meta. But yeah, so for first things first, I just want to talk about like, in terms of the set, the overwhelmingly large overhaul of Warrior design. And I'm starting off with 2 blocks, which I've complained about before, like Warrior getting 2 blocks feels sacrilegious, but I think it makes a lot more sense. We already talked about like how the daggers pump by like 4 and 5 sometimes to give it that aggressively slanted playstyle. And because of that, a lot of the cards that Fang is running at its core are 2 blocks, which makes me think that LSS is committed to making Warrior a bit more aggressive, a bit more tempo-oriented, and not just making them like, okay, all of your stuff blocks 3, throw your worst card in front, and then throw your best 2-card hand, which is refreshing, because that's all, Kasai is, that's all Hatchets is, really. So having this tempo game, having this explosive turns of daggers has been really fun to play with. So I'm still kind of debating on whether or not I really like this change to 2 blocks and like the more aggressive play style of Warrior that's coming up.
Yeah.
Also, I was really hoping that there was going to be attack actions associated with Draconic Warrior, but we didn't see any. We saw some new generic Draconic attack actions like Oath of Loyalty, which seems super gas, just a perfect starter.
So good in Fang.
Yeah, which is cool, and I think it allows Fang to have like really good starters, really good ways to like clear dragons when those come back, or clear allies when those come back, and then still have those 2 attacks from your daggers go towards face. So I think it solves a lot of the issues that Warrior has with Illusionist or like board state heroes. And we're also seeing like, well, obviously like this no brainer. It's a red line like Cheerios design because it's Draconic. Draconic is red, but the fact that you have this mini game of building up your fealty tokens and having this quest to achieve these free dagger swings has been a lot of fun, but it also has been challenging to figure out how redline you want to be, how lean your cost curve is, and how many blues you want to be building up your stack of fealties early, because you still have to pitch in your daggers and you're not going to be pitching a red each. That's just inefficient.
It's also a lot of zero-costed cards for the rest of the Warrior pool. I'm thinking of specifically the new Warrior Majestic Sharpened Senses, where it can give all of your weapon swings go again. You play that on a Blood on Her Hands turn for Kasai, and you only need 4 coppers now to pop off.
Yeah.
And essentially get quote-unquote all modes.
Right.
But that's really, really nice, actually. Like, I think it has a big place in a lot of decks.
Yeah, Sharpened Senses is very interesting to me because they decided to make it an aura and not like a non-attack action, which makes me think like there's going to be a way to pull auras out of your deck somehow, or have an easier way to play auras. I don't know. Maybe that's just my tinfoil hat theory, but it could have very easily been a non-attack action. But the Anthem itself, buffing daggers, it lends itself to have a combo-oriented dagger deck without breaking it or without making it an extremely powerful like equipment slot or something.
Maybe they just want Scour to be able to destroy it.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Break Stormstrider, Scour. You don't get your combo turn.
Yeah, please use Stormstriders for Scour, not for spells. The other thing, or the last thing I wanted to talk about Warrior was that there's still no disruption, so there's not really any reason for you to be blocking Warrior other than marking and hitting the marked heroes to get fealty tokens, which I didn't really expect for there to be like on hits with the Warriors, especially with how evasive these daggers seem to be. So maybe that's not the worst thing in the world, but I think disruption, especially now with assassins getting this big bump in playability, is I'm going to be missing it for sure when I'm thinking about like what hero to take competitively.
Always fun to hear Joel's thoughts on Warrior.
Yeah.
And I wasn't dooming.
No.
That was great.
The fact that you didn't doom, I think, is again a testament to actually just how well designed the set is.
I agree. I think they cooked for sure. Next, I want to talk about Ninja because I feel like, and we've talked about it before. I always harken back to like one of our first episodes, our aggro episode, where we talk about how the aggro decks will push the limits of how much damage you can deal in a turn, and the control decks sort of have to adapt to that. And that's why every set with Ninja seems like the Ninja just breaks the mold and sort of destroys the format. I don't think that's really happening with Syndra. I think there was a lot of early hype surrounding her, but she was quickly overshadowed by Ira before the Zephyr Needle ban. And now it seems sort of fine. Like, it seems very impactful, very aggressive. You have a lot of 2-blocks, but all of your attacks just work really well exponentially. Like, Poison Blades is a really strong Anthem effect. That plus all of your flick effects. But I think to counteract that, they play with the graveyard a lot more versus these overrate attack actions, like recurring these daggers back and forth, especially with like the non-attack actions that do so in addition to Syndra's hero ability. So that inherently makes Ninja a lot more interactable, especially if they leave daggers in the graveyard for the following turn, which makes me think like they're really starting to figure out how to put a cap on like how much aggro's able to get away with, so to speak. I was thinking about like how Zen was able to use bonds to like, this crazy extent, which still played around with the graveyard, but there just wasn't that many tools. And even if you hit one copy of a combo card, if they've already played bonds or if they've already filled up their graveyard with multiple copies, like there's nothing you can really do. So having these daggers be so core to your game plan and be stuck in your graveyard for a turn cycle, just really good design. I don't know.
Yeah. I think ninjas are very strong in a very healthy way right now, but that also stands to be contested. I think it's going to be a lot easier now with retrieve as a keyword for Flick Knives to get the 5/6 value over the course of a game than it was for Tiger Stripe Shuko to get 5/6 value over the course of a game, which it was able to in quite a few games. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Fuzzy.
No, totally. Like, you could easily do Shuko procs like every turn or almost every turn out of like a normal game,
Yeah. And now with the retrieve and re-equipping, and it definitely feels like Flick Knives could even replace Tiger Stripe in certain lists.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I'm not sure if I like that. Because it's a lot less interactable than Tiger Stripe Shuko. Every other hero is typically getting restricted to like 3-4 value on their arms piece, right? Along with blocking. I don't know. It just feels like a lot of value from one piece of equipment, Flick Knives nowadays.
Yeah, but you have to recur in order to get the value back every time, and retrieve costs a resource. So if you're paying one resource for every 1 damage you deal with Flick Knives, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, but I guess it was also like, another way of putting it would be like, if an equipment said once per turn attack reaction, deal 1 damage, would you not just run that in every single hero?
I think it's definitely going to be in contention for one of the best pieces of equipment in this coming set. Like, it's never been this powerful before.
Its price spike is very well justified.
Yeah,
is I guess kind of what I'm getting at, and I guess I'm a little concerned. Prevention is king. You are correct, Joel. I wonder if they gave us enough.
Yeah, they definitely gave us like some good options, like Shelter from the Storm, but that Majestic is going to be so expensive.
Even Calming Breeze. Some Redline decks have been running Calming Breeze into me as Viscerai. As a way of just being like, here's a red that stops 3 damage. Same thing as what Sigil did.
Yep. I always like when sets have the counterplay in generics to these powerful heroes that are being released, but it seems like direct damage is such a dangerous thing to play with. The last thing I want to say about Ninja is that I was really pleasantly surprised when Fi got some really clear-cut Draconic support alongside Syndra getting all of the cards that she needs to be viable. Specifically, Devotion Never Dies just seems crazy in Fi. Like, if you go on a long chain link and you're just, like, cycling Phoenix Flames and shit like that, and then you just play Devotion Never Dies 3 times because they ran out of cards to block it with, that seems insane.
Yeah.
That plus Ignite also seems really good. Ignite being able to reduce the Draconic attack actions that he likes to run, like Mounting Anger, stuff like that.
Or even Searing Emberblade. It can make Searing Emberblade cost 1.
Oh, because it's Activate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Or his ability to go grab a Phoenix Flame.
Oh.
Yeah, it reduces all of that.
Wait. Oh, interesting. Because he's technically a Draconic card?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Works that way on Syndra's ability, too.
Cool.
Yeah. So super, super flexible. Ignite did a great job of providing like a really interesting idea to both heroes in the Draconic Ninja space.
Now Fi can LL in peace. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was like the Assassins. I'll briefly go over it because I think Clark covered a lot of what I wanted to say. It feels very complex in draft. You need a lot of stuff. You need stealth attack actions. You need reactions to interact with the stealth cards you drafted. And I think you want a lot of dagger support so that you have something to do with your action points, because like one stealth card plus 3 react is just not going to win you a game versus what my opponent did to me at our first draft, where they were doing like, you know, equipping and flicking the Griffin Chicleras or whatever they're called and just wrecking my day.
The chiclets?
Yeah, the chiclets. And also, I think they really managed to do some good scaling of the assassin attack reactions. It seems like all of them don't really go above 3, which was good to hear because, like with Justinek and other cards, like they just, you know, get insane exponential value. Was just I don't think I could do another assassin set like that.
I mean, have you seen the clips of what people have been doing with Kiss of Death?
Oh, no, I haven't. And I will not be watching those.
Okay. They simply do not exist.
Yeah. If I don't see them, they don't exist. And then I think the marking support is OP. It's just insane. I think it's going to be really hard to keep 4 and 5 card hands as aggro decks. And I think that's kind of fine because aggro decks have been having the time of their lives.
Wow.
This set.
Enigma's got 600 points last season. Like, clear cut the best deck for Rosetta season.
I think
Doesn't aggro beat Enigma?
Yes,
usually?
it does.
Didn't Enigma had got more points than any other hero?
I think
That's how you know that aggro decks are having such a good time.
I think that was largely because of Full of Power CYB Enigma winning PQs and not some... Oh, and also Worlds. Like, that was 200 of it, I'm pretty sure.
100.
100.
100 for
Yeah,
Worlds?
they really cut the amount that Worlds gave
Wow.
down. I think because they saw 5 go from like 500 to 800, and they were like,
Huh.
maybe we shouldn't just let a hero go on a hero run, win one tournament, and then immediately LL.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a good thing for this system.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about this set. Overall, I'm very happy with the way things are landing. I still think Assassin's going to be annoying to play into, but I always think that this set doesn't really have a lot to do with that.
It's because they are. It's intentional.
Yeah. On the flavor tech, it's like, this will piss you off.
Yeah.
But that's it for me. I think we have a few more predictions, though, in our Arsenal Zone. Should we do those?
Yeah. So the Arsenal Zone is the part of our podcast where we talk about a card we like, a card we hate, a card we like to hate, or just a card that's like there. Like when you're going through the draft pack and then you're like, were there only 13 cards? No, there was. What's this card doing here? So we're going to start off by going over the predictions that we made in our Pitch and Predictions episode, which is we always like to take the Arsenal Zone as an opportunity to shout out an expansion slot card or what could go into the expansion slot for an upcoming set.
So I predicted that Acilio would get an insane specialization, similar to how Verdant's got Ring of Roses or Ring Around Rosie, whatever. That didn't happen. R.I.P. the goat, the robot.
Yeah.
I guessed there would be a non-attack action brute expansion slot card. There was not.
You want BRB 2?
The slot ended up being the Command and Conquer.
Oh.
That's what that
Gotcha.
slot ended up being.
I was expecting an Azuri specialization, and that didn't happen.
We were all wrong.
No correct points there.
Yeah, we suck at this.
No points for expansion slots.
The card that I would like to shout out is Tooth of the Dragon. It's the 0-cost Draconic instant that says your next Draconic attack this turn gets +3 power. And what I like about this card is it's clearly better in Fang, right?
Okay, yeah, continue.
It's so gas and Fang.
As a matter of fact, I feel like all of the Draconic instants are better in Fang because Fang gets an extra +1 and go again attached to all of these. And Syndra doesn't get anything extra for playing a Draconic instant. If anything, she's like, man, I wish that was a Draconic attack. Then it would have been cool. Then it would have been contributing to my game plan. So I feel like Syndra's in a little bit of a weird spot with a lot of these draft cards because a lot of these commons are instants. There's also like the For the Realm, For the Emperor, For the Drakai, and Blaze Headlong. Like those are all like pretty good in Syndra still, mostly. But all these instants are like half of the Draconic quote unquote hybrid cards that these two heroes share, and I feel like they're just so much better in Fang, you know? And the ones that are better in Syndra aren't even really that much better in Syndra. Like Fang is like, you know, down a clown with like any of these Draconic hybrids.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah, that card's gas. 0 for 4. Nice.
So I'm going to continue my tradition of bringing 2 copies of the card that I shouted out and giving a signed copy to each of my fellow hosts. One for you and one for you.
Thank you, Fuzzy. So for my card, I was going to talk about Hunt's End because I think that card's fucking gas. I love playing it so much. But I'm actually changing it to Kabuto of Imperial Authority. This card is so strong. It feels like Warmonger's Diplomacy levels of strong in the way that this card heavily impacts certain heroes more than others. Like obviously against Warrior, it's like, oh, you didn't block anything the previous turn and now you're going to throw a 5-card hand at me. I'm thinking you're going to take another turn to do that and just block with Kabuto. They can't swing with weapons. So strong. Some other decks, like for instance Aurora, I think it could see some play during that matchup because if they have Channel Lightning Valley and they have Tunic up, they're going to send Starfall. You can block a break point with the card from hand or some armor
Or Viscerai on a Revel turn.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Assuming that I know the Revel's coming out, but it just
You
has.
can read it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And for that reason, I think this card is just, it has so much skill expression baked into the design on top of a very, very powerful effect. So I'm really excited to use this card and pull it in Extended Dark Hold Foil.
I thought it was a really cool effect that we saw, the Warriors like the authority on weapons.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
that was cool too.
Yeah.
So, Fuzzy, you talked about a card that appeared in the set and was like a great draft common. Joel, you talked about this new really cool legendary piece of equipment, not really going to be seen in draft, but like makes a big impact on your CC hero. I'm going to talk about an expansion slot Majestic that kind of does fuck all for Viscerai, Dalsin Runeblood.
Oh.
But you're
God,
down
that
on,
art is so fucking good.
but you're down on that card again?
Dude, everyone's down on that card.
Oh,
Man, we were
A
up
lot
on
of
that
people
card
are not
before.
really hype on that card.
Oh.
Now, I mean, Alexander, I'm pretty sure it was Alexander Vor. It was one of the Vor brothers who was on the AGE Pro team, did do a stream testing Viscerai for Memphis and did play Rouse in that list. I think Douse is a really, really cool card. The question is if it's good enough because it really has a big demand. Now, it is surprisingly more playable than you may think. In a Rattlebone-centric list with a good amount of blues, Garganian Tome, Sonata Arcanics, it is very easy for you to play non-attack action cards that actually end up going card neutral. And with Arcanics and Rattlebone specifically, you can kind of go grab, quote-unquote, grab your Dalsin Runeblood after playing a non-attack action card.
Could you remind us what the card does, Clark?
Yes, I can, Fuzzy. Dalsin Runeblood is a 1-for-4 attack action card, blocks for 3 like most Runeblade attacks, and it says, create a rune chant for each non-attack action card you have played this turn. If you have played 3, it gains go again.
If 3 or more rune chants are created this way, which is a little different, right?
Yes, it is slightly different because it synergizes great with Mordred. So with Mordred, you only really need to play 2 non-attack action cards, which is really only 1 more non-attack action card, which can lead to some disgusting turns like Mordred, pitch a blue, douse, creepers in, revel, and then like
Ooh.
you have 2 action points and you go like ninth blade weapon into like something else. There's some disgusting lines in there, but it's a good card. I like it, but everyone's kind of down on it right now. It demands a lot and really big non-attack action heavy hands, which we're not trying to do. We're trying to have the 50-50, right? Especially if you want to run Arcanics, which synergizes really, really nicely with the card, because you can pitch into Arcanics and then go grab your douse and the thing that you want to play after douse. So it's troublesome. I don't think this is going to make a really big splash or really big impact on Viscerai lists. It doesn't really fit in our cost curve. We need to start running non-attack action cards that we haven't been prioritizing. I don't think it's going to make that big of an impact, but god damn, that art is sick. I am literally paying someone for the mat from Memphis. I'm like, kid, can I get your mat, please? I will give you monies. Because that mat is just sick, and I want to play with it.
I like the challenge that it presents, you know? Like, this could be a 1 for 7 easily. It kind of could be a 1 for as many as you can play non-attack actions, right? Like, it could be more than a 1 for 7.
Infinite.
But 1 for 7 go again is like a doable rate with this card, you know?
Yes, and that is definitely its strongest version. It's just how reasonable is it to do that? You know, we're already struggling to keep 4-card, 5-card hands in some matchups. Are we really going to start running a card that does that? And especially if it impinges on our deck space from things like Snuff Out. Like, I'd much rather throw a Snuff Out against Assassin and try to get 2 cards out of their hand than to try to keep a 4-card, 5-card hand and throw this.
Maybe this is a Florian card.
Oh.
Could be a Florian card, but then Florian would need to play 2 non-attack action cards before playing it and then have something to follow up. Like, I wonder how reasonable that is.
Or even just like 1 non-attack, and then it's a 1 for 6 with no go again. That's not even that bad.
I guess it's not that bad, yeah. I mean, Earthlord Surge costs 2. Would that pump this, or is that...
It would.
Oh, yeah.
So you could have a 3-card, like, 9+2 rune chance.
No, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Or you play Chalamount Heroic. And then
You're reaching, bud.
and then
a
Nimble.
Malefic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then you throw this with Go again, and then you have 2 resources floating for your plow through?
Pause.
That's a
lot.
Seven card hand.
5-card hand?
7 plus 9 plus 3 rune chance for 5 cards, and you get to keep your Chalamount Heroic after.
Holy.
All right, I think that's all we got for today's episode.
No, that's a 6-card hand.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's 2 blues.
Malefic and CMH.
Malefic, Dows, CMH, and the plow through.
So you play Force of Nature.
That's a Briar Spec.
Oh.
We're not playing Florian anymore.
Snatch? We're back? No, you Tome of Harvest.
Oh, that still makes it. It doesn't make it better.
I think that's all we have for today's episode. Thanks for potting with me, boys.
No, thank you.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye. Pitch It To Me podcast is hosted by Fuzzy Delp, Clark Moore, and Joel Recinos. Executive producer, Talon Stradley. Logistics coordinator, John Farkas. Music by Dillon Hulse. Logo by Han V. Sound mixing, Christopher Moore. And last but not least, you. Thank you for listening. Please give us a follow on your favorite social media platform at Pitch It To Me podcast.